My name's GuyKesTV and I've been a professional bike and kit tester for nearly 25 years. And today I'm talking about the latest addition to the SRAM transmission ecosystem on Eagle Expansion. So the kit here that's just been fitted to this bike, just been fitted to my Pace project build, is GX, which is kind of where SRAM are focusing most of their energy on this launch. But I've also ridden the setup more extensively. I mean, obviously, it's brand new, fresh setup, this. But I've also ridden the setup extensively in X01 format on a bike I can't tell you about just yet. So this is a clean setup, but I have got riding experience already on X01 and another set of GX very quickly as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over there, grab the camera, and just go through the details for you so you can see it properly up close. Now, obviously, the big deal here is this massive cassette. I mean, SRAM kind of revolutionised single chainring. I mean, they pretty much created single chainring shifting, and then they took it a whole nother level with Eagle with a 1050 cassette. Eagle Expansion takes it up to 1052. So Shimano took it to 1051, and now Eagle Expansion takes it to 1052. This section, the 10 through 42, is basically exactly the same as previous Eagle. It's just another 2-tooth wider on the larger alloy cog there. So it's now a pretty big jump. It's a 10-tooth jump now from the 42 to the 52, obviously. And that jump is a big old hike up, and you know, it's quite hard to kind of keep your cadence regular as you go into it. It's definitely a bailout gear, and obviously as you come off it, there's a bit of a lurch down onto the block. But the fact that your normal working range of 11 gears is still pretty tight, and you know, good driving cadence through those, that's kind of the gain over having a wider spaced ratio all the way through. And I can definitely think of some rides, and definitely some phases of other rides, where I generally don't go into the 50-tooth on Eagle because for technical climbing it's almost too low a gear. But if the traction is good and you're just crawling otherwise, then that 52 is just going to make things easier and more efficient if you're already on stalling point. So maybe not, you know, super useful for, you know, top athletes or for people who ride technical stuff where you need a bit more torque. But if you're just winching back up again, you know, doing repetitive runs on really, really steep hillsides where you just want to go straight back up again and you haven't got an e-bike, or even if you have got an e-bike and you want a really easy life, then that 52, you know, it's a legitimate and useful extension. And of course there's still the 1050 if you want to keep things as they were. This cassette is still lighter than XT as well, slightly, although it is more expensive. To cope with the larger cassette, the analog derailleurs moved to the same structure that SRAM introduced on Axis, their wireless setups. It's a slightly longer parallelogram, the top jockey wheel has moved, and this cage has actually got shorter. So even though it's a bigger cassette sprocket, the actual cage isn't so close to the ground, so there's potentially less clearance issues there. And having used it on the trail, the significant thing is, even though it's moving over a wider area, the shifting, because of the way that chainring's been moved, because there's more chain wrap, so more of the chain is contacting more of the cassette teeth at the same time, the shifting is noticeably more accurate. I mean, at first I thought it was kind of like maybe because it was a new bike I was using it on, but it really is even more precise, even more positive, and that's always been a SRAM advantage anyway. So it feels absolutely great at the trigger, even though there aren't actually any changes at the trigger. Still got these extra large jockey wheel pulleys there, and because you're getting more chain wrap, you're also should be getting increased chain life. Obviously, this is a brand new setup. It's only just debuted, so not had a chance to get a huge amount of mileage on it, but I will be putting that on. In terms of cosmetic durability, you can see the chainring now moves to a lighter colour, so basically almost a raw metal look, whereas before the black chainring could kind of start to look a bit untidy as the chain wear happened. But it's a two-stage anodizing process. And the other big news is you've got this whole new Lunar finish, which just, I mean, it's glossy finish, the graphics have changed, it's matched on the rear mech as well, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, GX before worked absolutely fine, but it did look a bit drab, whereas this looks properly top end now, you know. And you've still got all the, you know, all of my favourite little practical features on here, like you've got, you know, you've got the cage lock that lets the chain slacken off there for easy repair. You've still got these X-Sync 2 teeth on the chainring, which again just spreads the chain load onto the teeth at more points, so that increases chain lifespan. And also it does feel noticeably better through the chain compared to a conventional chainring. I'm convinced of that. I mean, it might be being a bit princess and the pea about that, but I think it runs better. You're getting dub axles on all the cranks, so that's that 29.9998 or whatever it is. Bottom bracket diameter, axle diameter, so basically nice stiff oversized cranks, available in the full range of bottom brackets. And as well as these changes on GX, Eagle expansion is now extended to XX1 and X01. Like I say, the X01 is the one I've ridden most, and again, super snappy feel. That now comes in 3 different colorways as well, with little sort of color patches on the rear mech and on the crank. And on XX1, which is obviously the top end super light cross country setup with the carbon cranks and the carbon cage on the rear, that now comes in a copper colorway for the chain and the cassette, as well as rainbow, gold and black. And while I haven't got it here, there's now an official GX carbon crank as well. Previously there have been lots of kind of mid-range carbon cranks that people have fitted on complete bikes. They've either been a Truvative, or they've been an X1 or Descendant, but now there's an actual SRAM GX crank, and that comes in at 550 grams, whereas this alloy crank is just over 630 grams. And I have to say, SRAM alloy cranks have really come on leaps and bounds in the last couple of generations, and this just feels super solid underfoot. And the other really nice aspect of this is they haven't changed the pricing either, so it's still exactly the same price as previous GX. And also, although you could sort of get away with the old rear mech on the new cassette, SRAM don't recommend it, but this new mech works fine on the older cassette. Plus you can still get 10 to 50 cassettes, and it's all back compatible, and there's no extra charge for it. I mean, it goes up fractionally in terms of grams. I think the rear mech is 9 grams heavier, the cassette is 5 grams heavier, I think, but I'd be amazed if you've noticed that kind of weight gain on the trail. It's still a much lighter cassette than the 1150 NX and SX cassettes that you get on the cheaper group sets. But if you are looking to save weight out of the system, definitely look at one of the 1295 or 1299 range cassettes, which are all one-piece machined billet rather than this pinned construction here. So that's a very quick talk round on this GX and a bit of riding impression from the X01 as well. Obviously, I'll be coming back and doing a more in-depth review as soon as I've had a proper amount of time on this, and we've had some proper weather to give this a pasting. But I have to say, my experience with Eagle so far is it's lasted incredibly well. In fact, my original XX1 gold group set, which, crikey, must be 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer than that, I should have checked, but basically a long time ago, I can't put a massive amount of mileage on bikes and transmissions because I'm just jumping from bike to bike to bike all the time. So after I'd kind of done my initial sighting rides on it, that's been ridden by a really good friend of mine called Andy, who does a huge amount of mileage, rides in all weathers regularly throughout the week. And I was chatting to the other week, because his jockey wheel exploded finally. So he's replaced the jockey wheel, the rear mech is still the same, the chain is still the same, the cassette is still the same, and he's just changed the chainring as well. But that setup I don't know how many thousands of miles that's done in properly abusive conditions, and it's still been, it still shifts and works absolutely fine, apart from, a couple of little bits of kind of ongoing maintenance. So although, the top-end SRAM group sets are a bit of an investment, you really are getting very good payback in terms of durability, it would seem. So, super keen to see how long this GX lasts. And basically, I guess if you were cynical, you could say this is a reaction to Shimano, going one bigger on the tooth, and going for the silver finish on the chainring. But there are practical reasons to go for that on the chainring, and the cosmetics gains are certainly very good, and SRAM say their shifting kind of algorithm and the way their ramps are arranged means they have to go up in twos. They couldn't just go up in a one. And, why not? transmissions, every bike component is kind of an arms race. So, you know, why shouldn't we expect them to, well, you know, want to be top of the heap again? And I think for mid-range transmissions, this new GX definitely puts them right up there, if not back out in front. So, thanks for watching this brief talk round on SRAM's new GX Eagle Expansion transmission. Subscribe if you want to watch more videos, click for notifications so you don't miss any, and if you really like what I'm doing on the channel, please consider joining these excellent folk who are scrolling up on screen now, who are my supporters on Patreon, who give a small monthly donation to help me with unsponsored videos like this, and they get extended early and behind the scenes edits as a kickback. If you want to know more about this project build, that I've literally, you know, this was the last part of the build that I couldn't put on previously because obviously it's just come out of embargo. This is my Pace RC295 Trail Assassin project build, and there are separate videos for that which you can watch right through from frame to various, why I've added the various components, and then that obviously will expand into a series of ride reviews as all these products take a pasting. So hopefully you've enjoyed the GX talk round. Click on the links for the videos on the RC295, and there's also a bunch of stuff on my channel about the SRAM Road axis setups, the MTB axis setups, and zip wheels as well. So lots of SRAM, lots of mountain biking on GuyKesTV by me, GuyKesTV, but for now I'm talking about SRAM's new GX Eagle Expansion transmission. Thank you very much.